Welcome to Drams and Dragons, the podcast about whiskey and fantasy. My name is Gus Berger, and with me is Dustin Van Horn. How are you doing?
Hey Gus, I'm tired, bro. I'm tired, but good.
Tired but good.
Tired but good.
Yeah, yeah.
Just the life of a
I think
dad, you know.
right. I think that describes me as well. Tired but good. Had a good productive day. That felt good. So
Good. Yeah, for me, it's just a lot going on in the world right now. You know what I mean?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Good
On
time
top
to
of on top of everything else, there's
just a
everything.
lot. Yeah,
It is a lot.
good time to have a dram and read some fantasy books.
Today, we're going to be talking The Boneships by R.J. Barker. It's the first book in the Tide Child trilogy. But first, whiskey.
Whiskey.
Whiskey. All right.
What do we got this week, Gus?
We're going to be tasting it's the next drink in this Islands and Highlands set by Drinks by the Dram. This is the Jura 18-year-old.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
Jura is not one I've had ever. I have heard of it. I have never had it.
And I'm seeing it's the Isle of Jura, so I'm guessing another
Yeah,
island we haven't.
another island.
All
This
right.
this island is the in the Inner Hebrides, and in fact, it's the next island over from our favorite island, Isla.
Yeah, they're neighbors.
It's they're literally there's a ferry between them. They almost touch. Like
Mm-hmm.
these islands are buddies. Jura is
Oh,
right next door, and this is like the only whiskey that comes from Jura.
it's very exciting.
Um, so I'm excited to try it. It's one I've actually heard really good things about it over the years. I think it's pretty popular
Cool.
among enthusiasts.
Enthusiasts.
Um, this is as I understand it, peated, but lightly peated, very lightly peated. So
Okay.
probably even lighter than some of the other ones in this set.
Hmm. So I already poured it.
You already put it.
I
Uh,
needed some time last time to. There was a little bit of bottle stank on it, so I had
yeah.
to pour.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would
This is
say it looks like it should be an 18-year, maybe sherry cask. It's got kind of the reddish, deep amber type thing going
And
on.
I'll tell you, it's not actually sherry cask. I'm with you on
Oh,
the look. It's not. I was reading about it. It's
ooh,
interesting.
huh.
It's a little more interesting than that. It is mostly aged in bourbon barrels.
Okay. Oh,
It is
interesting.
finished in red wine casks
Oh,
and kind of a fancy red wine cask. It's finished in Premier Grand Cru Classe Bordeaux barrels.
hmm. Ooh,
Yeah, so interesting.
yeah, a little French accent on the end there.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, that should be interesting then. So the bourbon, we should be getting some sort of vanilla spicy type stuff, and then
I would think so. Yeah. Get those
mhm,
bourbon notes maybe and then
the
something interesting.
Bordeaux. Yeah,
Bordeaux. Yeah.
something winey.
So I'm gonna pour here because I have not poured. I'm gonna
Yeah, I'm sorry, I jumped the
catch up
gun
with
there.
you. But I
I haven't
think
smelled
I,
it though.
I really think it's got it. I really think it's got that color, some of that color from red wine. Um, it's got just a slight orangey hue that is
Mhm.
not what you normally get in the color added like that caramel color thing. It's got
Right.
its own little, it's almost like a pinkness to it. Just
Hmm.
subtle, very, very subtly.
It's very nice. Got beautiful legs, very oily.
Oh yeah. It's quite viscous. I got that.
Give it a smell here. Ooh,
Mm.
lovely.
Oh, wow. I do smell that little bit of smoke.
Very mild. I get like a plum, kind of a plumminess from it. Maybe that's kind of the wine.
Yeah, it smells very
Yeah.
malty.
Yeah, malty. Yeah, it's like a rich, round flavor.
Yeah, and I'm getting a sweet smell. And I see what you mean by the plum as it's sort of opening up a little. There's a savoriness to the smell too, like a
Dude, you had me thinking like barbecue sauce a little bit.
oh, I was thinking more like bake something baked with butter and
Yeah.
but there are savory notes as well, like a more in sort of like almost meaty or salty. I mean, I know you can't smell salt, but you know what I mean, like that.
Yeah. No, when you said that, that's my brain went towards like almost like if you're barbecuing a red meat barbecue type of thing, just the sweet and savory with the saltiness and mm.
It's funny. Part of this reminds me of port, like a tawny port.
Oh, cool.
And I know it's not port, right? But
Right.
it's got some grape, right? And it's got the bourbon and it's sort of these sweet notes. It reminds
Yeah,
me of port. And I
the
say that
cloying
because
kind of. Yeah.
yeah, the cloying sort of sweetness. Yeah. Well, I want to sip it.
Mm,
That's phenomenal.
so good.
That's phenomenal, man.
Oh man, wish we had that smell-o-vision type
Mm,
stuff.
yeah.
That's what I wish everybody could taste.
Very, yeah, man. That is good. That is good.
I've saved some for the wife in this batch, I think. Wow. So I think I like to give kind of initial like an impression of this one.
Hmm.
Yeah, the pleasantness of it is just right off the bat. It's smooth. It's very pleasant. It's like a balanced. It's got sweet. It's got spice. Really
It's got
gentle.
savory. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got almost, and I know, and I'm gonna say in a good way because it's a very good way. It's almost got funk. I got a lot of maltiness too up front.
Hmm.
Um,
Funk. I'm gonna taste for the funk now. That's
yeah,
intriguing. Yeah.
bring on the funk.
Okay, yeah. So I get the barnyard funk in a good way. Yeah, it's real interesting too. It's kind of like focuses. It's like a really. It's the center of the taste buds. Kind of like I feel it like a.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very subtle,
Hmm.
and so it doesn't overwhelm things.
And you know what it reminds me of, dude? It reminds me of like a wine funk. If you've ever had grapes that kind of.
Yes,
Yep, that's what that
yes,
is.
that is what that is.
Whoa, so cool how they got that flavor in there, just with the finish.
It's like you get malt rolling into sweetness, rolling into spice. You get
Mm-hmm.
some of those sweet characteristics that you would expect from like a bourbon barrel, and it's just really smooth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the perfect level of smooth.
Yep.
Like it's not like light. It's like 44%. You do get a little alcohol from it, but it's not too hot. It doesn't like turn into heartburn on the way
Yes.
down,
Oh, I hate when that happens, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are you getting peat through this? Struggling to focus on the peat. That's something. It's like it really blends in with it.
It's so subtle, only at a very kind of background level that you're sort of barely just aware that it's present, but it's not like
Yeah.
overwhelming you. Like it's not like the sort of normal peated whiskeys. Like if somebody didn't tell me this was peated, I might not really be aware of it or find it. I would just sort of it would just sort of be a vibe
Yeah.
almost in the background.
Yeah. Maybe that's the characteristic of the Jura is the brother or sister
Mm-hmm.
isle of Islay, and they don't feel the need to show off their peat as much. They're
Yeah.
subtle. Yeah, because yeah, usually with peated stuff, I mean, it's like a thing, Brace the peat, super peat. It's actually really nice having a very subtle peat that blends in with everything as well. Yeah, the blending is it's just a superb flavor profile, and I want to yeah I want to have it with steak. I'd love to pair it with a steak.
Mm.
It would be
See, I'm thinking a little piece of dark chocolate with this.
oh interesting.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever had chocolate
Hmm.
with yeah.
I
I think
have.
because I'm getting these sweet notes at the front now. Not overwhelmingly sweet. Yeah, I think it would. I mean, I think it would go great with either a steak or some cheese or
Hmm.
something sweet like chocolate. I think any of them.
Yeah,
I think it's one that would pair really well. It's a really, really nice dram.
yeah. It's fancy stuff here. Fancy.
Yeah. What do you think of the finish?
Finish is interesting to me. It's kind of an odd finish. Then I got a little bit of bitterness
Hmm.
in the front of my mouth.
Yeah.
The finish isn't as pleasant as I might like, but it could just be me. I don't know. How's it hitting you?
It's long.
Yeah, it is very
It's
long.
very long. It just keeps going and going and going. Like I took my last sip, I don't know, a few minutes ago now. I still have some in the glass, but I took the last sip, and it's still lingering. We talk about sometimes about like a tobacco, like
Hmm.
on the back end. It has that characteristic to me, which
Hmm.
I really like. If it's like
Yeah.
if it's a smooth whiskey and it's got that tobacco finish. I'm
Yeah,
all over that.
cool.
So I really like that. It's not too bad. I mean, it's very smooth going down. It's very smooth on the finish. I don't really detect anything that I don't like about it. Trying to sort of figure out if there's more than just the tobacco
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of peat there. Because if there's a place where I detect the peat,
It's in the finish. Yeah.
it's in the finish.
Yeah, I'm getting it. I'm getting more of it now. And yeah, honestly, I get more of a briny peat in the finish.
Mm.
This one's taking me back to the seaside,
Yeah, I can see that.
to the ocean.
I can see that.
Yeah. Oh, oh, that's a good segue for the book. That's a good book
It
related.
is. It
Yeah.
is. But I want to read really quick. Are you good? Are you happy with the
I think I'm pretty
description of
happy
this?
with. Yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because while I really like everything that this is doing,
Mhm.
everything that this whiskey is doing, I actually don't feel like it's the most complex whiskey. There's some interesting notes that it has that are different from other whiskeys. I
Mhm.
feel like it's the most complex whiskey. It's just really everything it does really well.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, let's take a look here, see how we did.
Just looking at the card, the drinks by the dram card here, I've got a very short description. This is like the least flowery description for a dram, I think,
Yeah,
in this whole set.
it's straightforward here.
Nose is cinnamon, dried berries, wine gums, and
Hmm.
hickory. I don't even know what wine gums is. What is
Hmm.
wine gums?
Good question. I think
I have no idea. I could Google that.
it's got
I'm
to be
not
what
gonna,
we're.
but I gotta.
It's got to be what we were talking about, though. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, you can't.
like that funk kind of. Yeah,
Hmm. It's
I
got
can
to be it.
see. I can see the dried berries. I think that's sort of like the dried fruit, sort of cloying sweetness.
Hmm.
I can totally see that as dried berries. The
Dude,
funk, cinnamon would be the spice. What's the hickory? When did you
dude,
smell that?
barbecue
What?
sauce. Think hickory,
Ah,
hickory
yeah,
barbecue
hickory.
sauce.
Oh, I
That's
got
what it
you.
was. Ah, cool. Interesting. Yeah, I'll do the palette here. Let's see. We got brandied cherries. Oh, I could definitely see that. A
Hmm.
brandy vibe to it. Turkish delight. Ooh. Milky coffee and black currant jam.
So the finish is chocolate chip cookies, a touch of hay, and orange oil.
It's not like hay in your finish there.
I could see a little chocolate and orange oil, but I don't know about the touch of hay. Like that's not quite what I'm tasting there.
I think for me that describes the bitterness that I was trying
Mm.
to put a word for. I wouldn't call it bitterness per se, but I don't know if I imagined eating hay, the smell of hay. It's just
Yeah.
got a little bit of a like a grassy, woody, like a dry grass wood kind of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be right back, and I'm gonna get Crystal
Yeah,
to
same.
take a sip of this real quick.
She didn't hate it.
She didn't. Yeah, Crystal didn't hate
Cool.
the Jura 18.
Nice.
What did Katie think?
She has already brushed her teeth because it's late, so she didn't try it. She looked really disappointed. She said it smelled good when she came into the room.
Oh, well, Crystal
So,
just came back in to
okay.
tell me she would be okay with buying it.
Oh.
I mean, she doesn't. She asked for the price, so she didn't. She's
Don't
like,
want to
I would
know.
be okay with buying it, but not if it's $1,000.
Yeah. I would guess this would be in the $200 range, maybe 1 to 200. I don't know.
Total wine. That's actually not bad for an 18. 125
Oh, that's great.
at total wine,
Not
which
bad.
for me, where I live, is not bad for an 18-year-old what scotch.
Yeah, a good 18-year-old. So yeah, I really enjoy this. This would be like a every now and then drink.
Yeah, I would totally buy a bottle.
Yeah.
I recommend that. I recommend that period. I recommend it at that price point. It's fantastic.
Hmm.
Great value. I mean, not such good value that like, they should up the price a whole bunch because they're underselling it or whatever, but like it's really like that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Agreed. Boy, that's a
Yeah,
shut.
I might buy a bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably won't soon, but at some point I might buy a
Yeah,
bottle.
we got Christmas coming up and stuff.
Yeah.
Things might happen. This is a cool one too. You know how we've had a couple distilleries where we're curious about the rest of the products because of the drink, because of
Hmm.
This is another one. I'd love to try their line because I'm impressed. Look at that. Well, dude, this is an open and shut case. Just some good whiskey.
Yeah, that was a great dram. We've
Yeah,
tasted a lot of drams on this show.
that's one of my favorites.
Most of them have been pretty good. Most of them been decent. A few of them have been stinkers, and a
Mm-hmm.
couple of them have been fantastic.
Yeah, this one takes the cake.
I would say my second favorite out of all of the drams we tried out of these drinks by the dram sets.
Mm-hmm.
That's my second favorite. My favorite was that Octomore.
Yeah, that Octomore was
That
fantastic.
Octomore was ridiculous.
Yeah,
This is my second favorite out of all of them. It's
cool.
I mean, I'd put this up there with some of the stuff I buy regularly, or some of the stuff that I have on my shelf that I really like.
Cool.
Like I'd put this up there with the Ardbegs. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd wheel it out for like a buddy coming over. Like if I knew someone liked whiskey, I'd be like, dude, you should
Hmm.
try this.
Yeah,
So
and they probably haven't had it.
yeah, that's kind of a rare dram. So it hits all the marks. Yeah. Got two thumbs here. Whatever we
Yep.
do. Definite recommend. Well, shoot, man. I feel ready for the book.
The book is The Boneships by R.J. Barker.
Hmm.
It is the first book in the Tide Child trilogy. You do not have to wait. There's no waiting for the next one because the series is finished.
Okay, so you're not gonna get Rothfuss
You're not,
here.
yeah, you don't have to worry about getting
Oh, thank
Rothfest
goodness.
or Martin
Martin.
or anything like that. It's done. It's out. It's in the world. You can find them wherever they sell fantasy books.
Cool.
Published by Orbit, so one of the big fantasy publishers. I bought it. You talk about why people buy books, why people read books, why do they choose that book over the other book?
Hmm.
For me, it was the recommendation of Nicholas Eames.
Oh, okay.
He had put out a recommendation on like Twitter. This is like pre Elon Twitter, and because I followed him when I was on Twitter before I quit Twitter and all that crap.
Hmm.
I used to follow Nicholas Eames because I was like, mostly because I was like, where's the third book or whatever?
Yeah, and
And
he's the
he was
Kings of the
like,
Wild guy
yeah,
for
he's
listeners.
just
Yeah.
Kings of the Wild, Bloody Rose, all that really fun books. And he often like he often would put out like just steady stream of book recommendations. And I took a couple of them over the years. And this was one, and it was phenomenal. So this was my recommendation to Dustin.
Yeah, you've been talking about this for a while. Yeah, you mentioned it when we first started the show too.
Yeah, and you're
Um,
not the only person I've recommended it to.
mhm.
I actually recommended it to my dad,
Mhm.
who is a huge like nautical fiction guy. Like he really was like super into,
The Master Commander stuff, or
yeah, Patrick O'Brien is the word I was looking for, searching for the author's name.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
My dad was super into Patrick O'Brien, and but he doesn't normally like fantasy, like usually. Like sort of will read something, he's very supportive of my love of fantasy, but he's not a fantasy guy, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I was like, well, maybe he would like this because it's nautical. And he like super liked it. He is super into it. He liked this. So it's something that I think is just genuinely really good, really entertaining.
Hmm.
Now you've had a chance to read some of it.
Hmm.
And what did you think? I'm really
Uh,
curious to hear your
yeah.
thoughts.
Well, I was really grateful that you recommended it because I also love nautical. I mean, see, one of our college memories was watching the Far Side of the World with Russell Crowe,
Mm-hmm.
and I love stuff like that. Back in the day, my family played a naval battle version of Warhammer called Man of War, and
Yeah.
it had all the fleets with all the different races and stuff. I've always loved nautical combat. Now this itch that I like to scratch every now and then of nautical stuff usually it's usually in the like sci-fi. Um, Usually when I read sci-fi, it's space naval battles. It's kind of the same deal. You got a crew, on a ship in space, and there's stuff to do, and there's planets to explore, which is all just it's all just derived from the way it used to be when the world was small and a continent was basically another planet. So that was kind of my first thing with this book. I just it was kind of a cool thing to go back to like nautical type stuff. I really it's a very metal book. It's hardcore, man. There's some like
Mm-hmm.
great
Oh yeah.
grim fantasy elements to it.
Yeah, I mean, they're sacrificing children, right?
Babies, yeah,
Yeah, infants, right? They're sacrificing infants to boats essentially, or to, you know,
yeah. You don't know
um,
why. There's like these little lights that go above the boat, but man, it's got it all. It's got a lot of tropes that aren't overdone, but that I enjoy reading. Like it's got like a hard bitten, mysterious, badass captain who finds this motley crew of miscreants and whips them into shape. And there's
mhm.
political intrigue, and there's ship drama, and there's deadly battles, and like there's even that great scene where the author does a good job of building stuff up. So he shows like the crew just being completely shit at their jobs,
Yeah,
and so you get to earn the mastery later on. And
yeah.
yeah, on the whole, man, it's been really enjoyable so far.
I think there's something about this book and about the series. There's something about the world building in it that is like really special
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just like regular boats, right? All the boats, all the ships, all and frankly, just a lot of other stuff is all built on the bones of like these huge sea dragons. The whole thing is about these sea dragons, and it's this huge epic world. Like it's grimdark, it's kind of heroic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what do you say, like heroic grimdark, because it is heroic ultimately. The
Mm-hmm.
main characters are sort of, I mean, Joran Twiner, right, is sort of a at the beginning he's like a drunkard, soft captain that gets his captain's hat taken like
Yeah,
in the first like I don't know couple paragraphs or whatever first few
yeah.
pages.
He's bottom of the
Uh,
barrel. You know, he's just
he's
complete down and
absolutely
out.
yeah yeah.
Yeah, it's like a phoenix from the ashes story. So it's like more it's uplifting. I like it so
It is
far for
actually
that.
uplifting. As grimdark as it is
Yeah,
uplifting.
yeah.
And it is kind of awe inspiring. There's and I don't want to give away too much,
Hmm.
but there's this way in which it builds and builds and builds. And you start out and it's just this ship and this guy and this new captain. And there's like these little things that like these little threads that like come together as the book goes on until you get to the end and it's like this huge epic like I don't know, larger than life, larger than you can sort of conceive of kind of thing happening, right?
Hmm.
um the world building for that is really cool, and it's really done amazingly well.
Hmm.
I think there are a lot of things that this author does really well, and world building is one of them.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's my number one. That's the main thing I wanted to talk about today when I was going over what I thought. Because you know the prose is fine.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are fine. There's some stuff, but the world building is really what keeps me going, and it's it's different. It's unique. Like it's got its own flavor. It's not like the world building of like Dungeon Crawler Carl,
Yeah.
where it's almost like fanatical in its detail and like there's just billions of different things to remember. This one, it's like a good storyteller, like a good dungeon master, has these details and these things that just this richness. And like one of my favorites is are the heroes, the anti-heroes here. They're on the black ship, and there's all these little subtle things they do. And yeah, again, not giving away plot points. Like it's a ship made out of dragon bones. It's been painted black. Right off the bat, you can smell the ship when they're walking
Mm-hmm.
to it because it's rotting. It's rotting bone, and then the black is faded, and it did such a good job of drawing you in and being like, why is it black? Why are the bones why are they crappy? Why is the ship crappy? Why is
Hmm.
this? And yeah, it just got my brain going, and yeah, it was hard to put it down or
Yeah.
or turn off my earbuds. I listened to it. So
Yeah, it's also interesting. This is, a lot of fantasy sort of revolves around humans and elves and goblins and dwarves.
mm,
Um, and the sort of fantasy races established by Tolkien.
mhm.
This one has one of the most original, interesting fantasy races that I can think of. Like, I mean, I can think of others that are pretty cool and interesting and unique and original, but this one has the Gul'aim,
Yeah.
right? Who are like these bird. Well, the Gul'aim on the ship, there's like, but they're like these bird people
Mhm.
that um are sort of like what, second class citizens. They're
Yeah.
controlled. They're kind of like slaves, but they're these birds, and then some of them are like um oh, what's the word they use to describe them? They're like, but they're basically kind of like weather wizards,
Yeah. A
right?
mage. I think they call him a mage. They have a weird. The
Yeah,
audiobook
they
is
have,
weird. It's one of my things
yeah,
on it, but yeah.
but all of the spellings and pronunciations and everything are kind of like a different, slightly different, or adapted, or what have you. So the
Yeah.
gull aim is like, there's this one gull aim in particular. There's more of them than just the one, but there's this one in the ship, right? That's like the ship's gull aim, and he's like kind of different than other ones, but he's one of the coolest characters in the series. And I know the
Yeah.
series goes on, and we can talk about the rest of the next two books maybe if you want to at some point. But
Yeah. I'd love to.
um, there's this character that's in this race that he is so different from like your standard fantasy fare.
Hmm.
Um, but you really, and that doesn't change. There's sort of alien in this way. The portrayal of this is one of the coolest sort of portrayals of a fantasy non-human race, that sort of a character that is, sort of intelligent but in their own way, and sort
Yeah.
of, has agency but kind of in a unique kind of way, like, because they're it's almost like he got into the head of like a bird. Like, it
Yeah.
is a bird. It is a bird person,
Very
right?
much so.
They think differently, they act differently, yeah,
Yeah.
they're sort of fundamentally different from the sort of, pink monkey people running around on the deck of the ship,
Yeah.
so
Dude, what I like about yeah, what I liked about that, going back to the world building, um, it's very like if Brandon Sanderson, like I think we talked about, like Sanderson is like low on detail, big on the broad strokes.
yeah,
This one, it's like the opposite of that. Like in the Tarantino movies, how the characters earn their, they just the characters earn themselves is the only way I
yeah,
could put it. Yeah, even there, like the way they describe the Ghislaine, like the way they describe like the way the bones and the neck moves
hmm,
and the muscles, it
yeah,
just it's so satisfying because you could just say like the alien movements of the bird,
hmm,
but it's described to you in a way that is wonderful, and it opens things up. Like I'm at the point, I don't know if they're just an enslaved race, because there's definite like this is like a caste system, and there's a
hmm,
oppression on a massive scale of everybody. I don't know if they're like there's a suspicion that maybe their eyes are out at birth. We don't know, or I don't know yet in the
yeah,
story. But yeah, there's so much mystery around them, and this is just one character on the ship. But yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
There's a
It's
whole cast of characters,
a whole
and
cast
yeah,
of them. But yeah, I agree. It's a really unique fantasy. Yeah, I don't think I've read about bird people.
at least not quite like that, right?
Yeah, not like that. Yeah, Dungeon Crawler Carl has bird people, but it's there's just like they're bird people, basically humans with wings, slightly different. But
Yeah,
I do like the magic so far, and that
hmm,
it has a toll and needs to be recharged. It's interesting so far, and that's another thing I like about the world building. There's all these hints of magic shit going on, because like they don't just sacrifice babies. When they
hmm,
sacrifice the baby, this little light appears over a ship. What does that do? I don't know,
yeah.
but I really want to find out.
There's this big mystery. The whole world is like
Yeah,
enclosed, right? by this
Yeah.
like barrier that they can't sail past,
Hmm.
right? Or at least that nobody comes back from,
Hmm.
right? What's that mystery about? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the whole world is just like filled with mystery.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so
and then kind of
satisfying.
like where did all the dragons go? Like, you
Hmm.
know, where did the dragons come from? Like
Yep.
there's so many mysteries. And I don't know if every single mystery is like perfectly answered by the end of it,
Yeah.
but a lot of the big ones do get answered and they're very satisfying answers.
Cool.
And you start to get hints by the end of this first book, you get some real hints at some of them.
Hmm.
But one of the other things I really appreciate about this is how he brings his ending together.
Mm.
The endings of the of and this applies to all the books in the series, all three books in the series, but it's how he brings all this stuff back around at the end to create this like insane epic moment, right? This insane epic final. I don't want to call it a catastrophe or cataclysm, but each book sort of follows this sort of similar kind of arc where like everything is like building, building, building to like this crescendo.
Hmm.
Um, and it, like you said, everything is sort of feels earned,
Mm.
right? He sets it up really well. And then he's one of the things, like, I don't know, you mentioned Brandon Sanderson. One of the things I appreciate about him as an author is how he finishes his books,
Hmm.
right? Everything comes together at
Yeah.
the end. I also appreciate that about RJ Barker is
Cool.
all these things come back together and create these huge moments.
That's probably purposeful too. I know that's just from having listened to Sanderson. That's part of his process. I think he maps it out. He knows how its ending is going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you're a reader looking into this, I just trusted your taste on it. I was like, oh, Gus likes it, I'll probably like it. But yeah, if you're someone who values that and not having your time wasted on books, this is a really good one for that so far. I would also like to say if you're worried or squeamish about baby killing, thus far, that's also a mystery. Um, and there is like a scene where they describe the baby being taken off,
You
but
never actually see it. It's just talked about
yeah,
as happening.
that's kind of what I dig about it. Like I love some heavy fantasy, man. I like some grimdark, but I'm not a fan of gratuitous baby killing. And like I always
Mm-hmm.
think of what's that guy, the first sword guy, Wizard's First Rule, Terry Goodkind.
Mm,
Like he would take stuff past a line where it like get in your head a little bit.
yeah.
The imagery would like fuck with you, which I think is a tad. There's a place for it, but if I'm reading a fantasy book, or if like if I'm 13 and my parents said, "Oh, look, the Wizard's First Rule, a nice fantasy book,"
Yeah.
and then I'm reading gratuitous scenes, yeah, I don't really. It's kind of disrespectful to the readers, but yeah, this one was nice, and I think a little imagination is actually a better tool. The themes of power and oppression and the caste system thing type things seem like they're like central to the plot. Um,
Mhm.
the overarching thing. How are the books for that? Like, what would you say the major themes of the books are if you had to like encapsulate it? Is that kind of small potatoes compared to the rest of the epic stuff you're talking about, or is it?
No, I don't think it is. I think it's a big theme. I think those are big themes. No, I think as far as the series is concerned, yeah, I think a big part of both this book and then the next two, a big part of it is trying to make the world right,
Mm.
right? Trying to fix things,
Mm.
even if they can't be fixed, right? Like, they end up that ends up being a big driver for the plot as it goes forward.
Mm. Cool. Seems cathartic. Yeah, and I mentioned all the oppression stuff because part of it is like people being lashed into lives that they don't want. Um, like all this
Mhm.
people on the black ship, there's some dastardly people, there's some greasy types,
Mhm.
but a lot of them are there because they were just unlucky or they got on the wrong side of powerful people.
Yep.
Um, and so I really like that theme these days. I like the theme of I think and especially of like a world where stuff isn't quite going the way you want and you want to fix it.
Yeah.
Um, So I think on a deeper level, the book's pretty cathartic for that. Like, I say a lot that I'm a mood reader. Yeah, this one kind of suits the mood of the moment right now. Big problems and big things going on in the world. It's kind of cool seeing this group of people have agency and do things and move on just a little bit. So the audiobook is my, I was looking around, I couldn't find it in my library. I
Yeah.
didn't want to spend the money quite yet until I knew I liked it, but I had an Audible credit. So I Audible
Mm.
credited. And my favorite part is whenever the pirates, so they don't go I, like hi captain, they go
Oh
E,
yeah.
E captain,
I always
which,
got it. I always read it as A.
oh,
I
really?
don't. Yeah, like A as opposed to E, because isn't it? It's just EY, right? Isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't read it.
Oh. Does it? Does the voice actor say E? E?
Dude, he doesn't just do it. He does that voice for every character. Like the lead, like the captain, the captain sounds like this. Ah, oh, I don't know what's something she would say. Twiner. It's just, that's how she says the name and the thing, which is so different than my head voice for the character. So I
Yeah.
will say, yeah, the audiobook's a little wacky. And the E is funny because we're both New Mexico people, and E is kind of an exclamation,
Yeah.
So every time I hear it, it sounds real funny. E Captain, Eve, or shipwife. So the audiobook is meh. He does okay with some of the voices. The pacing's pretty good. And I'm still getting, obviously the story still feels rich and it's still good. But if you are sensitive to voice actors who are kind of a one voice thing, that might not be the audiobook for you.
Yeah. Do you prefer readers that are a different voice for every dialogue?
So if me, a 40-year-old dad, can sit down and read, like, I don't know, The Grinch to my kid and have different voices, like this
Yeah.
dude getting paid to do voiceovers for big books, he can use some fucking voices, man. Like
Yeah,
something.
I hear that for sure.
Or if you have a lady captain, she shouldn't sound like a grizzled old, like, sea
A sea
salt.
dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what she sounds like. It's nuts. I wish we
Oh
had
no.
we need to get one of those audio things so I could play you a clip from it. It's
Yeah, no,
weird.
that's funny. It's funny if they're saying E instead of A. I wonder if that was from the author or if that was just like their reading of it. It's hard to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's EY. I'm just
E
sorry. I'm
A
stuck on the E versus A thing. I
A
sorry. It's just spelled
A cut
EY. Like, is it? So I was
A
like,
cotton
and I know it's not I, right? Because if it was I, he would have just spelled it I, right? But it's
A,
EY. So I just says A,
like the fonts.
like a Canadian, you
A,
know,
okay, it's a Canadian boat.
like
Yes.
A, yeah,
A A
A
shipwife.
captain. But more like a Canadian with a pirate accent. Then
I
I was
like
just
that.
saying
Got some
A.
greasy fellas on this boat, eh? Having a barmy time. Oh,
Oh no.
love Canadians.
Uh, yeah.
Some of the best people.
The boot.
Boot.
A hoser.
um, yeah, sorry. It's my favorite good one too. Loser.
Yeah.
My kid, we watched Brother Bear, and they have Canadian mooses. I say mooses, by the way. If anyone has a problem with that,
Well, I say
I'm
meese.
sorry.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
meese.
I don't know who decided moose was a good plural word. They're wrong.
Moose and moose. No, it's moose
Meese.
and meese. Like, just using the rules. Hey, I'm just using the rules established by the English or whatever. Goose is geese. Moose is meese. I don't. There's no reason, right? There's no reason it should be a different rule, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I mean, maybe it shouldn't be meese. I don't know, but it shouldn't be different than goose and geese.
Unless you say gooses like me.
Well, you could say gooses, but then he would say mooses. It just shouldn't be moose, or it
Yeah,
should
that's
be
dumb.
goose, or goose should be plural. I don't
That's
know.
our like handshake in the middle thing. We can agree
Yeah,
that the singular is for the plural is stupid. Um, but yeah,
I just say I'll just be honest. I just say meese because it's funny.
yeah, same. I try to get my kid to say that, it's because it's hilarious. I think as far as the book, I kind of like a short list of my favorite things. I love the dragon lore. Turns
Hmm.
out there's not enough dragon stuff in my life. It's been real nice to have some dragon
Yeah.
stuff, and it's weird dragon too. It's like a sea dragon. I never read
Oh
about a
yeah.
sea dragon
The
before.
Keyshan.
Keyshan.
They're
Yeah.
they're pretty amazing. There's some of their, I was talking about the Golem, right? The bird wizard people.
Mm-hmm.
The dragons, super original dragons.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. They're like dragon sea monsters.
Mm-hmm.
They're like something somewhere between like a dragon, a sea monster, and then like, oh god, it was Zaratan or whatever, like the big sea turtle things
Oh yeah.
from like Dungeons. They're not from Dungeons and Dragons, but they're in Dungeons and Dragons. They're like from
Yeah.
like Arabic sailor folklore or whatever. Like the turtle that's like an big is so
Big
big you confuse
island.
it for an island.
Yeah.
It's got trees growing on it and shit, but it's a turtle. Sea turtle. It's kind
Yeah.
of
We
like that, right? But a dragon, it's because they're huge.
It's another cool lore thing too, right? There's a great scene where they're talking about like how one would hunt something so massive, and the thing was so massive that it just kind of casually can flip over giant boats with like a flipper.
Yeah,
Like it's big,
really
and
big.
they're wondering how would one take out such a thing. And like, oh no, thousands of people had to like hundreds of ships, and lots of people would die
Yeah,
in order to get a dragon. Um, and and that which is another cool part of the world because then you got this world where they have a whole fleet made out of dragon ships, um, like big ones too, and
yeah,
it's cool. And yeah, so that was kind of my favorite. I love the nautical elements. If you like stuff like getting excited over ramming, like ramming speed type things,
yeah,
like there's some fun stuff for that. Like they have these
yeah,
beaks on them that just cut through other ships, which is really handy to have a weather mage for if you need some extra speed. I thought it had good squad fantasy, like
hmm,
uh cook style, just the motley crew working together doing stuff. But yeah, it's and then yeah, the world building was my other favorite. So but I guess on the whole, man, yeah, really excited to keep reading. I'm gonna read it to go to sleep tonight.
nice
um and I'm gonna keep going. I don't think I can put it down till I'm done. It's good stuff.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I that was how it was for me. Like when I first picked this up the first time, by the end of the first chapter, I was like, well, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
I think I read it in like 2 days, like just crazy fast. Just like,
Yeah.
it's one of those books where you start reading it and you're just like, all of a sudden it's like, 2 a.m, you know,
Hmm. Yeah, it's
and
like a Netflix
you've,
binge shirt or
yeah,
show. Yeah.
yeah.
It even has a good
So,
opening line, you know?
yeah,
Give me your hat. Great opening line.
yes, yeah, man. So obviously, I recommend it because I recommended it.
Yeah.
I I
Double.
wanted it
Yeah.
for the show. Like I was like, this is great. I recommended it.
Yeah. I also recommend it's good stuff, especially if you like all the stuff we talk about. But even
Yeah,
if you don't, it's very much worth reading.
yeah.
Got something
Like I
for,
said, my dad liked it.
yeah,
Okay, my dad did.
the guy
That's
who doesn't
not.
read a lot of fantasy.
Yeah,
That's saying something.
that's not going to be like a common recommend from like a common like thing, right? Most
Cool.
of these books, it's going to be like, did your dad read them? Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope, nope, hasn't, won't. Nope.
Yeah.
This one did, loved it. So
Cool. Yeah, and I will say, yeah, I think it's dad friendly for a lot of reasons.
dad fantasy.
Yeah, it's dad
We get
fantasy.
we get dad music or dad rock.
Dad
We
rock.
get dad bods, dad rock, dad everything.
Yeah.
Apparently this is dad fantasy, dad history. You
Yeah.
know, is dad
Oh,
everything? No, this is dad fantasy.
yeah. I like that.
Dad
It's dad
fantasy.
fantasy. But it's for girls too. And other
Yeah.
people too. You know,
Yeah. But other people might like it also.
yeah, regardless of their gender, of how they identify. Um I will say, oh yeah, something I kind of dig about the book too is that there's a lot
Mhm.
of lady characters. As much as it is dad fantasy, like dad friendly. There, what I like, and we've talked about this before. There's a difference between arbitrarily throwing female like point of views in your story just because you want to be like, oh, let's put a lady in there, and then there's a difference between that and then just writing good characters that happen to be female. And
Hmm.
this is a very this the culture that he describes in this is very egalitarian in this regard. There are gender norms that are kind of horrifying in
Hmm.
terms of like how they breed and
Yeah.
like who gets to have babies and who gets them taken away and this and that. But like on the ship, there's just dudes and ladies, and they're doing all the stuff. The lady's a badass captain who just cracks the whip, and first
Yep.
mate's a
Lucky Meese.
yeah, like Lucky
Yeah.
Bees. That's what she says in the audiobook. I'm Lucky
Meese.
Bees. That's her
Well,
voice.
yeah, with a very masculine pirate accent.
Dude, seriously, he goes low like that. It's nuts. You
uh,
can't fathom it. But yeah, I
that's
like
funny.
that.
Yeah. No, Lucky Meese is a phenomenal character. She's really
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, I'm talking about strong female characters, like strong in like every way, like being rich, deep, interesting characters, but also being complete badasses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's fun like
Yeah, and
that.
then the main character, she's sort of what the one of the main characters of the book, but the protagonist, the perspective character is Joran Twiner, who's sort of a I don't know, that starts out as a very weak man. Let's just
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Um,
A kid, yeah, I didn't realize he
yeah,
was
he's really
19,
just a kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
and
we should hop off because
yeah,
it's getting
yeah,
late
you
for
gotta
me to
go
be
make dinner,
on.
huh?
I gotta go eat dinner. I already
That's
made
good.
dinner. I gotta eat dinner.
All right, man.
Um, but yeah, yeah, it's a good one. It's a good
Yeah,
book.
good book. Thanks for
Um,
recommending it.
yep, of
And yeah,
course.
listeners, give it a chance. You won't be let down.
Hope you enjoyed the show, and I know we did.
Hmm.
Have a good night, and hope to see you on the next one. All right, take care.
And also, no, that's it.
Now I'm cutting this.
This is cutting. This is cut.
I'm
This is
cutting
cut.
it.
No, stay gold tonight. No, stay gold.